We've got quite a group of leaders in the room with us today. My name is Brent Miller with SVN Miller Commercial Real Estate, and this whole idea came about last week with several phone calls to the leaders in this room to kind of get ahead of the crisis that we're going through right now, and just kind of talk it through, walk it through, and from the leaders in this room, just to be able to get ahead of things and be proactive and try to alleviate some of the fears that are going on in the community, and just kind of get back to business is what I've been calling it within our firm. So with that said, I will turn it over to Jake Day, Mayor Jake Day. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Brent, and I just want to thank you, the SVN Miller team, Amy, everyone for being willing to host this, for hosting it remotely through your YouTube channel, and I want to thank everyone who's taken the time to participate today. Real quick, I'd like to acknowledge those of us in the room and those who I know are online. So business leaders in the room, we have Bill Chambers, CEO of the Salisbury Area Chamber of Commerce. We have Bill McCain, council member at large for Wycomico County. We have Mike Dunn, the CEO of the Greater Salisbury Committee. Donna Hanlon, Superintendent of Schools, myself, Brent Miller, we have Steve Leonard, the CEO of Peninsula Regional Health Systems, Peninsula Regional Medical Center, Laura Soper, the Director of Business Development for the City of Salisbury, Dave Ryan, Executive Director of Salisbury Wycomico Economic Development, Wayne Strasburg, Director of Administration, Wycomico County. I want to say thank you again to the SVN teams, the media present, and the City of Salisbury team who are helping to facilitate this conversation today. I also know that online we have municipal representatives from the other 7 municipalities in Wycomico County, and I'm confident that we have a growing number, of business representatives and leaders joining in. So thank you to you. I'd like to do just a quick technical overview. If you're connected via Zoom, I have muted you and will unmute you. And as we open up to discussion, I can hear you. I'm listening to you through an earpiece, so I'll translate your comments, questions, or concerns as relevant as we go into each phase of this. If you're having trouble hearing, time does not allow us to pause for technical assistance, so I encourage you to switch over to YouTube or Facebook. If you're connected via YouTube or Facebook, I will repeat each question and comment if you're having any trouble hearing, and comment your questions and comments there. So as you provide notes in the comments, they will be read to us when we get to each section by the amazing SVN Miller staff and the City of Salisbury staff here. I want to do a quick agenda overview. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go around this room. The officials in this room are going to speak to an update on the emergency status for each of our organizations, provide any overview of changes and relevant information. Then I'll ask for comments from our federal, state, and utility officials that are online. We can also read off some of their information that we have present here. I also do want to thank, I know we've got representatives from Senator Cardin, Senator Van Hollen's office, and representatives from some of the Eastern Shore delegation participating. The second item we'll be doing is going into a survey discussing what your business is experiencing and what you're anticipating. What you're experiencing and what you're anticipating. So we'll be looking for your comments during that period or in advance of that period, and we will be reading those off and discussing them here. Third is, how can the community help your industry? So how can we help your industry? And that's the question. That's what we want to know. Fourth, what can we be doing to be more resilient than the next community? What can we be doing now to be more resilient than the next community? And finally, we will be talking about how we plan to follow up. So that will be just some notes on how we plan to follow up, and then some closing comments, and we'll adjourn and link up with the press as necessary. So Folks, I think what we'd like to do is get started with updates. I am happy to begin. I want to just add, decision was made by City Council recently. City Council work session is not canceled. However, citizens are strongly encouraged to watch on PAC 14. City Council legislative sessions are not canceled at this time. We want to note that police, fire, and EMS continue to provide services, as does waterworks, water treatment, wastewater treatment, etc. Homeless services continue to be provided. All parking is free in the city right now. There will be no paid parking enforcement. All billing and permitting is to be done online only. We provided that numerous times, the links to that numerous times, but we'll continue to do so. All billing and permitting is to be done online. Now, one thing I do want to add is real estate transactions. The number one question we've been getting is with respect to deed transfers. We understand real estate settlements are still happening, so we have set up a protocol. We're encouraging anyone with a real estate transaction needing services from the city of Salisbury to contact our finance department. The information, I'll provide the email addresses momentarily, but the contact that we want you to do is email ideally to klundy, K-L-U-N-D-Y at salisbury.md, or ccarpenter@salisbury.md. These are the folks you're normally working with directly. And then to bring the packet, including the payment, to the government office building. We'll have security, I believe, limited hours, Wayne, or
8 to 4.
8 to 4. 8 to 4, we'll have security in the government office building. You can drop off your packet. We'll process it. We'll work with county finance and the clerk's office to process it. That's the extent of the updates with respect to the city of Salisbury that I had. Wayne, why don't I hand it off to you?
Okay.
Any updates that you've got?
Sure. Executive Culver issued a declaration of emergency effective Tuesday, March 17th at 8 a.m. That was this morning. This is due to public health catastrophe and public emergency as cited in the governor's declaration of emergency issued on March 5th. We have taken the following actions. Wycomico County Health Department is the lead agency for the county in this emergency and is supported by all county departments under coordination of the Department of Emergency Services. The executive has made the following changes in county government operations to protect the public and employees and to reduce the threat of further spread of COVID-19. All county departments are operating with essential staff only. All county offices will be closed to the public, including the Civic Center and Torrey Welcome Center, effective as of yesterday at 5 p.m. The government office building lobby will be open to accept mail. That mail will be distributed in the GOB and processed as efficiently as we possibly can under the circumstances. Visitors will be buzzed in by our security staff, who will be there from 8 a.m. in the morning until 4 p.m. in the afternoon. The Newland Park landfill and all homeowner convenience centers will remain open for normal hours, and trash removal and disposal will continue. The Upper Ferry and Whitehaven Ferry will be closed. The county council, the declaration of emergency lasts for 7 days, and it can only be extended with the concurrence of the county council. I met with the county council this morning at their meeting, and they will hold an emergency meeting on March 23rd, Monday. I believe the time is 9 a.m. or down here somewhere. 9 a.m. and that meeting will be to consider the extension of the emergency declaration. By all accounts, this emergency, from a statewide standpoint, and certainly here locally, is not going to resolve itself in the next 7 days. The best guesses that we're hearing from state officials is that this will probably last well into late spring, even early summer. Obviously, what the governor is trying to do is put a firewall around the virus so that it can't spread geometrically. We are urging the public to follow not only the emergency order, but also the guidance from both the state and the CDC. Our health department has set up a call center for any citizens who have questions about the COVID-19 virus. That call center number is 410-341-4600. The governor had an 11 o'clock press conference this morning and took further action. He's postponing the April 28th primary election until June 2nd. There are serious discussions about postponing the Preakness until September. The Kentucky Derby has already been postponed. They are imposing restrictions on PWI terminal access. Access will be only for ticketed passengers and employees, and the MBA will be operating on restricted hours. That's about all I have right now.
Steve?
Thank you, Jake. First thing I'd like to do is just thank you for the opportunity to hear and answer questions. I think this is a good forum and many questions out there not getting answered, which lead to murmurs, you might say. So the first thing I'd like to point out is, as a healthcare system, we've had no confirmed cases in our primary service area, so that's about 7 counties. And we are working under the leadership of the various health departments and state agencies. So this is new for us having worked in Delaware as well, Nanticoke. Again, there's been no confirmed cases. At this stage, there's 2 buckets of activities. We're focusing on education and awareness through the health department, trying to put out as much information as we can. That includes that the vast majority of people who, should they experience this, are going to be okay and really is with the vulnerable population where there's increased risk. That information can be found with the health department. We've also consolidated a number of things on peninsula.org. There's a banner out there. You can click on the top, and if you're a Delaware resident, there's information there for you. If you're a Maryland resident, there's information there, as well as frequently asked questions. And finally, concurrently, obviously, we're still treating patients. Many patients are still coming in with the flu, and obviously we are going through appropriate screening protocols for COVID-19. We've had a couple of patients under investigation, all thus far here. While we continue to care for patients, there's a few things we're doing with the state. The state has asked us to develop surge capacity plans should there be more widespread activity. Fortunately, our team has experienced, an amazing team, they had experience in preparing for even worse situations such as Ebola for the last several years. So we're reinforcing that training and as well as preparing for what might a surge look like, and hopefully we don't need it. The community will notice things if they haven't already. We've significantly reduced visitation hours, the number of folks who can visit people. That is especially important in some of our system-related entities, such as nursing homes, where you have a vulnerable population that are essentially on a form of lockdown because they are most at risk. The community will notice that we're instituting different triage processes shortly, and that you will see a tent outside the emergency department. The whole purpose there is to screen patients, and if possible, if they don't need care, the recommendation is that people go home as opposed to coming to the hospital and potentially infecting more folks. So you will see some changes on campus with the use of tents for screening procedures. So once again, the team is active, both in current as well as preparing for something that we hope we don't see, but at the same time, should we need that level, it's there for us when we do get there. So thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Mike?
Yeah, the Greater Salt Lake Committee, I'm proud to say that we hold this business roundtable. It's a usual thing that we do on the 4th Friday of each month. And after conversations with the mayor last week, and then kind of the morning after that, Brent called and said, hey, what can the community do? And this is yet another example of how this community rallies. We may not be able to solve any crises today or answer all questions, but I can tell you that our business community today, those reaching out to me and those that I've been reaching out to, are just incredibly grateful for this. This may be happening in other communities, but we know that it's happening here. look in the back and see our good friend Rob Mulford, Market Street Inn, and we know that there's a lot of unknowns out there. I can report that, Bohanka Automotive had a great weekend, so there are signs that things are normal. Quoting our good friend Sandy Angelo, she said, people are still attempting to do what they can to get some enjoyment out of life, and perhaps a new car is part of that. Speaking with Chris Eccleston at Delmarva Veteran Builders, there are no signs from any of the contracts that he has. His people are going to work every day. There's no signs yet of things canceling out on them. So, I guess the Greater Salisbury Committee, we've been around since 1967, and one of our missions is to help when there's problems and challenges facing the community, that we're here to try to help solve them. And I think today is a good example of that. Quoting the mayor, we've always been a resilient community, and this is one of those times that we can do our best. Bill Chambers, my friend from the Chamber of Commerce, who will speak in a moment. We had a good conversation about an hour and a half ago with Eli Modlin, the Chief of Staff at Salisbury University, and SU is prepared to help the community, put out some economic development initiatives perhaps, do some financial planning and helping during emergencies. So their Purdue School of Business is going to kind of shift and see what they might be able to do to help the community. So again, it's a pleasure to be here. I thank you, Brent, Amy, Mayor, Wayne, everybody who's doing such a great job, Steve, and Dr. Hanlon for being here today as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Hanlon?
So I want to thank you as well for allowing me to be a part of this conversation, important update to the community on what's happening. Especially in our schools, we do our very best to put information out on our Facebook page and on our website and through parent link messages and through opportunities with the media. But this is just one more opportunity to let everyone know what's happening in the schools related to COVID-19. So everyone's aware that currently our closure is for 2 weeks through March 27th. I don't have any update on that. So we are planning for that, but we are also planning for the possibility it may go beyond that. We learned about the closure of schools, just for those who wondered, we learned about it at the same time as everyone else did. We had been doing some planning, but we were doing a lot of scrambling on Friday just to make sure that our students were prepared for going home for at least 2 weeks, and our staff were prepared as well. So we currently have cleaning teams. We have 3 teams that are moving about all of our 25 schools, and they are cleaning and sanitizing every classroom, labeling every classroom that they've completed so that no one is entering those classrooms after that cleaning. We do also have a limited team of food service managers and food service workers, preparing 3 meals in bundles for all of the students in our community. Quite an undertaking. We have 10 locations around the county, and they're on our website, but I'll just mention them quickly. We have locations and these locations are open from 12 to 1 each day. The student needs to be present, but any student up to the age of 18 can pick up these bundles of 3 meals each day. East Salisbury Elementary School, Fruitland Primary, Pemberton Elementary School, Pinehurst Elementary School, Prince Street Elementary School, Salisbury Middle. Delmar is at Renovate Church, Zion United Methodist at St. Domingo, Epoch Dream Center in Hebron, Westside Fire Department in Bival, and in the Pittsville Willards area. And that changes all the time. We are adding to that as needs arise. So just want to say thank you to our food service staff for doing an incredible job where that's concerned. Our 12-month employees, with the exception of a small group of essential staff, as well as all of the workers that I just mentioned, are all teleworking. Everyone has gone home under the direction of their immediate supervisor. I do want to assure everyone, all of our staff, that payroll and other business procedures will go uninterrupted as part of the essential staff. And in particular, when we sent this message out, but in the event that some didn't get it, our contractual and part-time employees will continue to be paid. We're doing that based upon the last 4 pay periods and average of the time that they worked, and they will continue to be paid. We value all of our employees in our school system. We've had a lot of conversation lately about continuity of instruction. These 2 weeks have really been about planning in the event that we are closed for any length of time, making sure that our students have what they need to do, have what they need in order to learn from home. In our community, that's extremely challenging, and what I've learned from conversations with superintendents across the state is we are not alone. We have probably less than half of our students who have internet access. So to go fully to online learning is not possible. All of our students do not have devices at home. So we are talking about ways to get around that. We're talking about options for students so those that have online opportunities, we can do it that way, but also perhaps providing hard copy packets at those feeding centers for students to pick up. A lot of planning in that regard once we know for sure what's happening in the future. Let's see, I think probably the community is aware that all athletics have been canceled through April the 6th at the earliest. We are continuing to communicate with the health department. We're also continuing, in fact, every other day, we have conference calls, all 24 superintendents with the state superintendent. And we're all working through this together to make sure that our students have what they need during this shutdown of schools.
Thank you, Dr. Hanlon. I'd like to ask Bill Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Brent, and Amy for hosting this very, very important roundtable. Locally, the Chamber of Commerce office is closed. Our staff is teleworking, and we are addressing and answering all emails and phone calls, which we have had dozens per hour. The local impact is already being felt with our restaurant and hospitality partners, and this is the greatest fear immediately is layoffs and furloughs. We are working with our restaurant partners now in gathering information about their takeout operating hours. So if you are a restaurateur here in the region, we will be reaching out to you if you're a chamber member. If you're not a member, we still want your information. Please call the chamber at 410-749-0144 so that we're able to pass your operating hours on to the general public. Likely, all business sectors are going to see impacts. Mike Dunn just alluded to the fact that we have still some normalcy in our business climate, but given the long-range outlook, I think all business sectors are going to see some impacts, and I think everyone needs to be prepared to start attempting to do more business remotely online. The Chamber is providing guidance to all businesses for state and local government information and assistance. I reached out to our federal legislative representatives yesterday and again today. We're asking them to accelerate an aid package for businesses which are going to be incurring layoffs, and thus new unemployment claims will be filed. We've asked again today for a suspension in the federal payroll tax for the balance of 2020. I understand that may be off the immediate table with the administration, but we're still pushing for that. We're also going to be directing businesses to state and federal resources for business recovery services once we are past this crisis. And the Chamber as well here locally will be offering business recovery services for all business sectors once we get to the end of this crisis. This is a fluid situation, and our business community is the lifeblood of our region. So this is a situation that we're going to be monitoring literally by the hour.
Bill McCain.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Even though I'm a Wycombe County Councilman, I'm actually wearing the hat today as I'm the chairman of the corporate board of the YMCA's of the Chesapeake. And actually this morning, I woke up in Nashville this morning, thanks to quick connecting flights and everything working. My plane just landed about an hour and a half ago in Salisbury. Here I am. And things are changing pretty rapidly everywhere. In Nashville, they closed down the city. But the YMCA's at Chesapeake, along with the state of Maryland and all the counties across Delmarva, we're working to provide shelter or care for children of critical workers, first responders, and medical workers. Currently, our YMCA in Talbot County, Easton or St. Michael wise, they're handling about 200 children. We're offering these same services here in Wycomico County. So we want to make everyone aware of that. And once again, it's for children or most essential workers or first responders and our medical workers. And we're happy to assist any way we can. Here at our Hinton YMCA, we have capacity to provide those needs. And our director there is Deanna Harrell. And Deanna can be contacted. I'll give her phone number. It's 410-251-0305. We're also working with other agencies. You can contact the county's emergency services director. You can call the emergency services department at 410-548-4809. And we're also working with the health department as well. Any of those services can get you in contact with our YMCAs. And our YMCAs are actually doing this all across the state of Maryland. So we're there to help out however we can.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dave Ryan?
Thank you, Mayor. It's terrific to be here with you, county, and all of our partners in economic development. On the opening page, our front page of our website is the link. You will not miss it. Resources available for the business community. That will always be there as we pass through the crisis that we're experiencing right now. And I was on the phone last night. We're in constant communication and close communication with the Maryland Secretary of Commerce, the Maryland Secretary of Department of Labor, Licensing and Regulation. We had a conference call last night as we explore what the state's response and recovery resources might look like to the business community, and as we explore how we might apply for federal assistance, especially through the SBA, the Small Business Administration. They have, the state of Maryland has the necessary paperwork for Wycomico County to submit that application for assistance through the Small Business Administration already. So we're a little bit ahead of the curve on that. I've heard some anecdotal, I've just heard some really good stories out there where neighbors are helping neighbors and the supply chain is helping customers and customers helping customers and banks helping with loan modifications, and a lot of that going on in our community that doesn't get a whole lot of attention. I don't think anybody wants that type of attention, but that's the community we have, and that's helping lots of businesses, I believe, get through this time. And then finally, we're not going to quit on the pipeline projects that we have. We have projects going on right now. Don't think for 1 second we will commit, fall short on committing to the pipeline and potential prospects that we have outstanding. That includes businesses here looking to expand and other businesses exploring Salisbury and Wycomico County as a new business location. Thank you.
Thank you. And I love that comment about the pipeline. The meeting I was having right before I came here, which was less than 10 people, I assure you, was the developers from Montgomery County of the Village of Salisbury Lakeview Mall, racing toward construction, working very hard to get there, and everything's looking good in their world. So there are some bright spots. There are going to be some challenges. That's why we're here today, obviously, but we can't stop trying to grow the economy. And if we do, I assure you we'll falter. So thank you. I want to hand it over to Laura Soper, City Business Secretary.
Thank you. Given the governor's announcement yesterday, we are starting to track which businesses are remaining open, specifically the ones that depend on foot traffic, our retailers, our restaurants, due to salons' quality of life. We're getting creative wherever we can to help promote them. We're encouraging our small businesses to get creative as well. either by offering carryout if you're still open, or delivery through Grubhub or Uber Eats. Both of those companies have suspended their commission fees. We're encouraging our retailers to look into online commerce options. And we're encouraging some of our gym-based businesses to consider online classes. I know Soul Yoga has switched to an online format for their members. We're staying in close contact with our state partners. I'll be participating in a conference call with the HCD to discuss resources for our small businesses. And I'm encouraging anyone out there to support local at this time. This is the time to support local. They need you more than ever. So please, 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 please support our small business economy.
Absolutely. Laura, thank you. What I'd like to do before we move to update on support available from federal, state, and utility officials, that should include local officials as well. I want to just acknowledge just a couple other people who are have joined us online. And then real quickly, I just want to say thank you again to Brent and Amy and Rick and Wes and the team here, Amber, the entire team here, for supporting this effort, and for the folks at EVO for providing some food. So thank you. I know that we've got Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore online, United Way of the Lower Eastern Shore, the library, who I believe indicated in their comments, all branches of the library will be closing, is what they indicated. They certainly indicated that the library will be closing. I assume that meant all branches. Until further notice. Minnie Burgoyne from the Department of Commerce is online. Kim Cradaville from Senator Cardin's office is online. Caroline O'Hare from the National Folk Festival. Jack Heath and Miraboda from the City Council. Salisbury University President Chuck White. Let's see, Tri-County Council, Lower Eastern Shores represented. The City of Fruitland, Town of Del Mar. Didn't see yet if Sharptown, Marvell Springs, Pittsville, Hebron, or Willards are. Chesapeake Utilities is represented. I want to note Chesapeake Utilities made mention that their cutoffs will be ceased during this period, which obviously is fantastic news. But I also want to point out they've got a program at ChesapeakeSharing.com. Up to $1,000 grants, so no turnoffs plus financial assistance being provided by Chesapeake Utilities. I know that Delmarva Power is putting out information. I don't have the latest and greatest from them, but maybe by the end of this we will. Am I leaving out any organizations that are represented?
We had Sherry Segrist from Bay Area CIL has joined us on Facebook.
Okay, Bay Area CIL, Center for Independent Living, thank you. And any other?
Jeff Merritt is with us as well.
Okay, Jeff Merritt, Fruitland Chamber of Commerce.
Can you see Tony Nichols?
Tony Nichols, BBSI. I know there's a lot of business support happening through their company, and East County Chamber of Commerce is also represented.
President White and Eli Long.
And so not only President White from Salisbury University, but Eli Moglin, the Chief of Staff. I think we have a couple of updates regarding federal benefits or programs that are available from SBA. Wayne, Dave, either of you want to take this and talk a little bit about what might be available in the room here? And I'll get to it at the end, but I want to be clear that everything being provided in the room here, we will make sure is available online at Salisbury.md homepage. I'm confident we can make it accessible at WhatComptonCounty.org and at Greater Salisbury Chamber of Commerce. Any resource that we can make available, I think we should, if we can, through all of our media outlets or all of our web outlets. But do you want to speak to SBA, Dave?
Yeah, sure. Dave's best person to address that.
Okay, yeah, sure. For SBA assistance in the form of low interest loans, the state of Maryland needs to apply to the SBA. And they will do so, and it's my understanding, tomorrow. They needed to show economic hardship and distress with at least one business within our county, at least one in every county. And we have done that. That business has supplied information to the emergency management team here. They supplied that to the Maryland emergency management administration. So it's my understanding that Governor Hogan, we have the state will apply for that in the next day or so. And as the details of the SBA assistance become available, we're certainly included with this group and through our website and social channels.
Okay. So we'll need to put that out through all of our channels fairly soon, I imagine, keep that open to collect that information. We don't know when a deadline for providing that information will be.
But the first step is to apply to be eligible for assistance. That's all we're doing.
Okay.
And the government needs to do that, we'll do that. And then we'll look at what that assistance looks like, and how we might best take advantage of it. Okay. And that's when we'll need our partners to spread the word.
Thank you. All right. And we'll make sure that the information again circulated here by Mr. Strasburg is communicated through all of our channels. Laura from Eastside Chamber of Commerce is on. Thank you, Laura. Cheryl Meadows, Ryan Snow from the Governor's Office, and Cheryl Meadows from Salisbury Neighborhood Housing Service. Thank you all for joining.
Congressman Harris's office.
Congressman Harris's office is online as well. Thank you. Any other state programs we want to share at this point?
Jake, I would mention that Comptroller Green Farrell has urged releasing $500 million from the state's rainy day fund to directly aid small businesses. So borrowing money is one thing, but these small businesses are going to be hurt and they need liquidity. So I think that's an important call on his part. Kim Traverdale from Senator Cardin's office reached out to us this morning, and I believe, I won't speak for Kim, but I think that Senator Cardin would also, at the federal level, support federal funding of the same type. But I'll let Kim speak to that.
Question for the room. Do we believe it's time for us to collectively advocate to either the governor or our Eastern Shore delegation, legislative leaders, not only at the state level, but also our federal representatives for the release of funds, rainy day funds or other financial assistance?
I reached out to the comptroller earlier today and did exactly that, asked them if they could go ahead and get this aid package placed now in the hands of Marylanders, and then request reimbursement from the federal government at a later date and not sit and wait for the federal response. Locally, though, I just got a release to the comptroller's office. Business taxes, if you have filing deadlines as a business, it has been extended to June 1st, and this extension applies to business returns with due dates during the months of March, April, and May 2020 for businesses filing sales and use tax, withholding tax, admissions and amusement tax, as well as alcohol, tobacco, and motor fuel excise taxes, tire recycling fees, and bay restoration fee returns. So those have been extended until the 1st of June. If you want more information about those specific extensions, go to taxpayer relief at marylandtaxes.gov. I just literally came in a minute ago.
And Mayor, exactly what Bill is saying, the power of what we're doing right now, Johnny Mouse is texting that very information. And Melissa Kelly from Senator Van Hollen's office is texting that Senator Van Hollen has a Van Hollen special website set up. It's vanhollen.senate.gov/coronavirus. So again, that's vanhollen.senate.gov/coronavirus. So people are paying attention. It's a good thing.
And we also have Dr. Hoy, he's joined us on Facebook Live.
Okay, thank you. So we've got Dr. Boyd from Warwick, as well as Delia Mouse and Melissa Kelly from Senator Van Hollen's office. Good to know. I would also say that, I would note that Secretary Schultz of the Maryland Department of Commerce has shared a website with many of us, businessexpress.maryland.gov/coronavirus. That's businessexpress.maryland.gov/coronavirus. This is the location where all of the information has been compiled for employer and worker assistance, federal assistance in taxes, and licensing and permitting that's been collected at this time by the state of Maryland. So I'd encourage folks to check out that site, businesses to please check out that site. Let's see, anything else from our local government or from federal or state representatives?
That exact site is what we have on our website. We're happy to share that link. It's a terrific link. You can get to federal agencies. You can get to really the whole gamut of resources available, the status of the virus. It's a really good link.
Swed.org.
Swed.org.
So you can go to swed.org. That's maybe an even easier one to remember and follow through to the Maryland Department of Commerce.
Jake, with regard to a letter of support for the comptroller's suggestion, as you know, the legislature is adjourning tomorrow and not reconvening until the end of May. So I think that letter should leave this county, this community
Today.
I really think it needs to get up there today.
Perhaps at the end of this meeting, we can stick around for a few minutes. Those of us in the room agree to a process where we can all send the same letter or at least hit the same points or even sign on jointly all of our organizations on one letter.
Yeah, I suggest one letter, everybody signs
One
on.
letter, everybody sign on. Wes?
Jake, report from the library,
Yes.
Wycomico County Library. Although their doors are closed, their online resources are still very active. And actually from the library wanted me to make everyone aware and the community aware that they'll also be conducting online tutoring for those students that are in need.
Just in case, and I don't know exactly how the audio is working in this room, I imagine folks could hear you, but did that sound good? Could you all hear that?
It sounds
Chris, okay, all right, so I don't need to repeat it, good, got it. Thank you, Wes. John Allen from Delmarva Power is online. I would ask Mr. Allen if he can hear us. Anything from Delmarva Power by way of updates to utility bills, things like that, programs for hardship, anything he can provide in the comments so that we can read aloud, I think would be helpful. I'd like at this point to switch over to the first sort of survey question. This is really, what is your business experiencing and what do you anticipate? And I realize there's a lot of unknowns, but this is the moment where we want to talk about, what's going on out in the world, what are you feeling, so that we may transition to our second topic, which is how can we help your industry? How can not only government, not only institutions, but how can we as a community help your industry? I don't want to put anybody on the spot, but Joel, Rob, we've got you in the room. I think we're all concerned with the impact on businesses that can't just say, oh, we'll go to our website and enjoy a meal there. It's not quite that simple. So what are you experiencing? What are you seeing out in the world, and how do you anticipate the next few weeks changing? Do you mind?
I think the biggest thing right now is what is looking is the fear in employees' faces. How am I going to get paid? Where's the next dollar going to come from? We're going to have a meeting tomorrow for both organizations, both places, just for the employees to come, and we're gathering as much information as we can for the hour of employees to put together where they can reach out to what we're really here to see, where we can help direct them as far as employment filings, help as far as food assistance, because there's different levels of everybody. Some people are still employed, some people are higher wages, some people are living day to day. So they're the people we're trying to help right out of the gate. We know right now the online ordering, everybody's jumping on that as quick as they can, but I can tell from Market Street, we've had one order today. Of course, right now in the middle of this, today, tomorrow, or the next day, probably not. I not really thinking about ordering online right now. I'm trying to think of how I'm gonna take care of my family first, how I'm gonna get supplies, what is my plan, just like we're doing in this room. So we're crushed right now. It's, we want to do the right things ethically. That's what got us here. Our community is about. Like right now, Sandy from Kodak just reached out to Rob and buy some gift cards to help you. That's great. I think Joel said a couple people reach out to Mojo's to cater some events to try to create some revenue. They're wonderful. There's lots of new ideas. I know Peter Roskovich yesterday was up in Annapolis, and he told me that he reached out to sign something for my Concord County for the emergency declaration, but since he was there, that was really huge. So I want to thank him for doing that yesterday. So quicker the better what we're doing here. That's kind of it. It's kind of, it's the unknown for everybody and what's going to happen. I mean, obviously right now it's the fear of this, the first initial stages, but I imagine we're all at the back of our head what's going to happen 7 days, 14 days, 21 days, just onward. That's the real plan. And of course, the restaurants business, most of us all operate on paper thin margins, and we're day to day, just like the employees. I know for just blinking an eye in the course of a week, the payroll coming up, I'll be in the hole 75,000 in 7 days. So it's pretty critical, and just want to make the best decisions of what loans to apply. Of course, it doesn't do any good to apply for a loan when you're already behind with loans, but like I said, it's trying to make the best decisions. And knowledge is power, and try to pass that on for all our colleagues.
Rob, I think tracking those figures, that what payroll hits you take each week, reporting that not only through to Laura and Dave, but just maintaining those numbers. That will be important information if there are resources available, and we need to fight for those resources. That's precisely where I think federal and state assistance should be going. This is not the time for top-down distribution of support. This is the time for bottom-up, get the dollars on Main Street, get the dollars back into our community to the extent possible to rectify those issues. So thank you for that. Wes, we've got.
Yeah, on that note, Jake, there was an insurance expert that commented, and their comment was that businesses should track any disruption in revenue and contact their insurer to understand your coverages.
Okay, all right.
That was from Goosehead Insurance, Melissa Giesland.
Goosehead Insurance, okay. That's excellent. So tracking those losses, tracking those expenses during this time period so that you can report it to your insurance company, that's very good advice. What else? Are we getting comments on either the feeds what are people seeing? What are they feeling out there? What do they anticipate?
I have more questions.
You have a question?
Direct comments, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm going to start with Julie Bellamy from the town of Hebron. Asked, do we have any thoughts for providing relief to folks whose quarterly utility bills will be going out April 1st?
Okay, so town of Hebron is represented. Thank you to Julie. The question was about quarterly utility bills going out and relief. I know that I can speak to the city of Salisbury and our utility bills. There will be no late fees assessed, no late fees accrued, and utility bills won't be due until 30 days after the end of the state of emergency. I don't know from a cash flow standpoint, I can't speak to how each municipality would handle that, but I would suggest that that's one method of addressing it. It's been ordered for by the governor for residential utility bills, and it's been ordered that there are no evictions for residential, but obviously we've got small businesses paying leases, we've got utility bills hitting businesses. So are there any other thoughts in the room on mechanisms to provide relief for utility bills that are coming for our business community?
John Allen did weigh in on that. Quote, we intend to keep the lights on. They will be offering payment arrangements for customers and they will not be turning off the lights, if you will. So
And I know Jared Shelton from Chesapeake Utilities is live as well. Maybe he can address what programs or processes they're going to institute.
So I think the question for both Jared at Chesapeake Utilities and for John at Delmarva Power is, will the governor's order, which has been applied to residential utility bills, be extended to businesses at this time? And I think that's probably what John meant, but let's confirm it. If we can get same from
John
Jared.
as well. Mike's not with us, but we need to ascertain the same with John.
Okay. Thank you. From Chop Tank Electric, right? Absolutely, yes. Okay. Any other comments, industry specific, that we're getting about what people are experiencing right now? Wes or Chris?
Yeah, Jay, Joe Wright at Vernon Powell, he's commented, as most people know, locally owned and operated here in Salisbury and multiple other locations along the shore. Salisbury and Rehoboth location, they are down about 30% in revenue since Friday, more than 50% down since yesterday, and they anticipate an additional 60 to 70% decreases until some of the bans are lifted, but they're staying open.
Okay.
Jared just responded, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so that's correct. No disconnects for non-payment or late fees for residential and commercial until at least May 1st, 2020.
same.
That's great. That's
same
great.
time.
Same with Delmarva Power. That's great news for our businesses. So it sounds as if food service and retail continue to get walloped right now. And they're certainly going to need our support. Okay, anything else industry specific? Yeah, Chris?
Yes, sir. So Mayor Christy Farlow on the Facebook feed, it says that she teaches paint parties to groups, and she can't do that right now, obviously, so she's trying to work out a way to maybe take this in kind of format, online, virtual. But it's tough because she's afraid that she's not going to be able to make rent because she can't bring people together.
So this falls into the category, we've seen several businesses like this. Musicians, we've seen, so the folks that do paint parties and things like that, as well as yoga studios, we've seen vendors like that have to close their doors and shift to online. Soul Yoga in Salisbury did an online yoga session yesterday. Local musician Wes Davis opened his virtual guitar case and played a virtual concert yesterday or this morning, accepting donations or tips through Venmo. So that sort of ingenuity, I think, is important, but obviously, we got to remember the hit that those businesses are taking. Chris, is there something else?
I'm still scrolling.
Yeah, Peloton just went to online.
I'm sorry? Peloton just went to online. Anything else industry specific in terms of what people are seeing? Let's transition to how we can help these industries. I mean, so let's start with food service if we can. One thing that I've seen is just Ocean City, Salisbury, and Easton. I've seen share lists of businesses that are offering carryout and delivery services with phone numbers, with days open, with hours. Ocean City was very detailed in their release. And spreading that word through the community. And that can't just be a press release, that's got to get into people's hands, average folks' hands. Any other thoughts about, and from anybody, but certainly Joel and Rob, things that we can be doing to support your business and your industry right now? No, it's tough.
It's, all that stuff going out there, all the talk and all the support is just, I guess, I've been doing it 19 years, and sometimes you have these things and like, it's a rah thing, but I guess it's really real. It's how can the important thing for the restaurants in the next 7 days is if we've got our deliveries and the perishable food, we really need to move it so we're not throwing, we won't throw it away, we call it food payments first, but we really need to move it so it goes. Just, of course, like again, you've got everyone's still in that state of shock, but just as a thought, you really want to move the food needs to go so we can get that out our doors, and then we can adjust ordering levels and how to staff and essential employees. Once we really get more direction from Restaurant Association of Maryland, there's not much from them right now. They're really putting all that together. So as soon as we can get that from them, we're relying a lot of facts from them. But I know for all restaurants, everybody, we need to move that 7-day window of food fast, so then we can adjust to what we need to get for takeout.
Okay, so there's a sense of urgency. Buy local now. Whoever's doing carry out or delivery, buy now, because there's perishable food items that you have that simply aren't going to last. Okay. Laura, I think we can probably work, and I know others can get the word out for us, but we can work to pound all of our social media feeds with that list, with big bright images, Chris, Becca, just on what do we need to do to get that word out, get out the door tonight. Go to your local establishment tonight or carry out. DoorDash,
I love the idea of, catering is a great idea.
I mean, I've spoken to Ahmad tonight at the Cactus. They're doing menus that are going to be like a limited menu, buy 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, feed your family, they'll deliver it. So people are really trying to scramble to get really creative, but the problem is trying to get it creative, get your website done, get it out there. It's a lot of work that has to be done really quickly. Plus, what is the right call for the employees that we staff? Do we lay them off quickly so they can file quicker? Pay them down, so we need to know what is the best thing to do for the employees on top of trying to make them work, but we want to honor their payroll. So that's the decision we're weighing in. That's why we're doing that meeting tomorrow to inform the staff, like, look, whatever is best for you, but at the same time, trying to move food out the door. And then again, keep our brand loyalty, stay there, be involved in the community. Like I said, the call for coming in for doing the catering over at the hospital, a company feeding the healthcare workers is amazing. That's a great idea. So again, there's lots of thinking outside the box.
What we're doing as a firm is, just simple as go around in the morning and say, okay, what restaurant are we going to choose from today? And then order from that restaurant. That way, if they don't offer delivery, we've got one person who goes out, they can food and brings it back. So we support the local restaurants. That's a great way for the other companies and communities to continue to do that as well.
Keeps people working.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a few employees.
Before you go, I just want to acknowledge that Wycomico County Clerk of Court, Bo McAllister, just walked in the room. Thank you, Bo, and thank you for you and your team keeping working on deed transfers and the other critical transactions that are important to keep parts of our economy running. So thank you.
Dana Seiler from Vantage Point Solutions. Sort of speaking to what Rob's talking about, transferring how, Ahmad's got that good idea, but how can you transfer that out? He recommends, is there a way that we can speak or get some initiative going? How can companies, how can they take the technical and security aspects of the work from home initiatives or the ramping up of websites? How can we address some of this from the IT perspective? Is there an IT master brain that can help transition people who need to work from home and or businesses like what Rob is describing now, who can transfer quickly? It's just a need.
Well, I think this highlights the importance of the piece of legislation that was in front of the General Assembly to extend broadband to parts of rural Maryland. We think about those conversations as something of a luxury in normal times, and it's clearly not. There are entire parts of our community, as Dr. Hamlin said, that don't have access to the internet, whether for economic reasons or purely infrastructural reasons. So this is a reminder that that piece of legislation and efforts like it are important, but I do think connectivity is critical. So I would say if there's an expert like Dana who can share that their guidance with us, and make recommendations as to policy decisions and programs and things that we can do to help businesses transition, right now, that would be very, very helpful. I'm sure we have some, thoughts from the comment sections. Wes, Chris, either of you have?
Yeah, sure. For local restaurants and other, mostly restaurants, Rob and Joel, maybe you guys can comment today. And if you're online, you could comment in the comments section. Question came in, what are all of the food delivery services offered currently in the city of Salisbury and Wycomico County? I know Grubhub and DoorDash. Is there a list that can be shared and then be posted online, of course? And Rob, since you're here, which delivery services do you use, and are you delivering without those services?
We're currently just set up, because I don't want to jump right into it without having, the insurance in any way at risk. We're strictly curbside pickup, and we're involved with Grubhub. Following up on that, maybe if there's a way to get into the chamber or the city of Salisbury to everyone that can send in their, you guys can pick it up and you're sending out thank yous from the downtown Salisbury, like Irish, I see different posts, us, Irish Penny, but maybe there's like, hey, get the information to City of Salisbury and go to the website. Here's a complete list of who is delivering, who's curb pickup. We've got our people, the phones are open basically from 9 in the morning to 8 at night. It's kind of what I think that looks like most all restaurants, from Newcastle, Delaware. I've got friends that own restaurants up there. Pretty much these delivery windows are 11 in the morning to 6, 7, 8, 9 at night is the max, pretty much. Kind of like Rise Up Coffee started out there with 8 to 4, but then they confirmed they're going to do 6 to 5 now. Because really, ask 8 in the morning is too late for us. We're all addicted in this town, so we know we gotta get.
So what I suggest we do is if Laura and Amy from Business Development and the chamber staff, to the extent that they're able, if we can coordinate on doing maybe some outreach to the restaurants and gathering.
We are doing that
To
now,
develop
and
those.
we're also ascertaining what delivery services they use and if they have in-house delivery.
Okay.
And same, we started that for the downtown businesses. If you go to downtownsby.com/COVID-19, you'll see a list of our restaurants. We're gonna start adding our salons and retailers on there as well. For our restaurants, we show which delivery services they offer. Right now, all I know is that Uber Eats and Grubhub are the only ones that have suspended commission fees. I don't know about DoorDash. So that's usually a big hit for our restaurants. So, if you can go Uber Eats or Grubhub.
Uber Eats or Grubhub, and we'll share whether or not DoorDash does.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
And the restaurants who utilize that service.
One other comment from Joe Wright, again, Vernon Powell. He encourages all of the local community to support local, keep pushing local. Many local shops have online stores, so you can make your orders and purchases online, and they'd be glad to accommodate you with local pickup. So he continues to urge people to focus. If you can't visit the store, a lot of them have online stores, and they will gladly arrange pickup.
For a business like Joe's, can he share his, in the comments, can he share his online store URL?
Yes.
Okay. Maybe we can comment back to him and get him to share that URL in there and identify that.
There I have a couple as well.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, again, from Town of Hebron, is there small business assistance or any other assistance available for small employers such as carpenters, HVAC, home improvement, carpet cleaning, et cetera?
Okay, so the question about is there support for carpenters, HVAC, things like that? I don't think that there would be any differentiation, but the question there would be, so they could certainly be included, but the question there is there any reason for them not to continue to operate? And I would encourage them to continue to operate. One of the reasons why we worked very hard, and I know that the clerk's office, or the clerk of the court, of the circuit court, and the county finance office has worked hard to keep real estate transactions moving, is to keep that sector of the economy working. We have, in the city, have ensured that construction inspection and stormwater inspection is treated as a critical function. Normally they would not be, but they are critical function, meaning every construction project moves forward in the city. Permitting, all late fees, all permits that would expire are being extended so people can continue those projects. Wayne, is the county doing something similar to that? Okay, and the state I know has done the same. So Wycomico County, City of Salisbury, State of Maryland, you can continue to work on your construction projects without any interruption. Obviously, there may be other economic impacts that cause an interruption to those projects, but look around town and there's construction happening all over the place. So we want to see those things continue. But great question. Wes?
On that same line of questioning, someone had submitted, for those submitting any form of paperwork, doesn't necessarily have to be a permit, it could be a fee, it could be a payment. So for those submitting any form of paperwork, such as permits, what is the process for them over the next couple of weeks? Should they do it online, via mail? Can you explain that?
I think each institution should probably speak for itself, but I'll start with the city, Salisbury.md. Everything should be online. So go to the website, Salisbury.md. All bill pay can be done online. All permits can be applied online. All procurement can be done through the online procurement portal. All licenses can be renewed all online. Everything can be done online. Now, anything that has to be submitted in a hard document form of a check, such as a deed for recordation purposes or a packet, can be brought into the government office building, as Mr. Strasburg said, from 8 to 4
Each day.
each day.
And the mail will be distributed as.
Wayne, do you want to address, is that essentially parallel counting? Okay, same, everything should be
So
online.
we'll keep those wheels will stay in motion.
Excellent. Any other paperwork that needs to be submitted? I don't know, if Donna or Steve, if there's anything that needs to be communicated on that front for either of your institutions?
No, I would just say, with the school system, anyone who has questions like that, to call us. We have voicemail on, and it will go immediately to an email that we have someone in, and so that we'll get back to them right away.
So, so to reiterate, that's really important to note that the Board of Education, you can still call, they'll turn into an email, and someone who's manning that will review it. City is working with Telewire. All of our phone numbers are being forwarded to a cell phone for anyone who's remote, or a home phone for anyone who's remote, and we'll have email accessibility. Everyone is continuing to work, at least in our organization, same with Wycomico County. Steve, anything on that front?
We're businesses.
No change.
No online activity.
We always encourage online, but all the offices are open.
Clerk of the court, anything you want to add on that front? Should phone calls, emails, how do you prefer to be communicated with during the emergency?
Phone and email, there's still a Dropbox available inside the court entranceway, so if people need to get documents in, they can do it that way. We have electronic submission options for some services. We are in a bit of a hiatus for marriage applications and licenses. We haven't found a way to work around that because it requires an in-person appearance, but we're continuing to look into it. And again, if people have questions about any of that, just call, we'll be there.
If your engagement doesn't survive COVID-19, it's not going to survive anyway. So, anything else that we've got?
We've got a question. Go. Mr. Mayor, Brad Gillis asked a couple questions. What opportunities are there for us as local business leaders to directly help first responders and essential personnel? So if our business gets slowed down, if we start to see a slowdown, how can we extend ourselves?
Can I start with Steve on this? Is there a way that businesses, we identified food.
Food's always an option. Other folks can buy from the restaurants and bring it to the hospital. Obviously, that's always a good thing. I do think at some point in time, when it comes to surge, if surge is needed, there are infrastructure things that happen around the campus and so forth. So that could be an opportunity if we do get to that point. But for right now, I think we're good.
I think for city fire and police, I would say that, their concern is their interactions with anyone who might be sick, so we need to keep that to a minimum. I think it would be appreciated if anyone wanted to bring food to one of the 3 fire stations or any of the fire stations in the county or the police department or the sheriff's office. Just recognize that we'll have to keep interactions to a minimum and dropping food off. Again, we would encourage it to be purchased from a local business.
And this may be a little premature to announce, I'm working with our local My Common Go Grows Kindness Initiative. So the community can donate to them and we can support some of our local restaurants and buy food for our local sponsors, our nurses, our doctors, firefighters. So look for that to go live hopefully in the near future. And it should make it a little bit easier to support our local restaurants.
Thank you. Rob?
What was fascinating was with the YMCA on the bill was, what about the business was if the YMCA is housing kids of the first responders and there's a need in there for food, that something could be set up ahead of time with a business to sponsor the meal for that night or that day for out there to why.
Yes, certainly. We work here to accommodate anyone we can, so, yeah, we'll see if that's that on that, so.
What about the business was to say, hey, let's go down to, we're gonna go to your bigger one like Adams Rip, the Adams was like, hey, there's a $1,000 gift card at the city of Salisbury waiting for an organization that needs the catering. There's a way to the Sperry Nest sponsored that gift card down there at Adams. You can use it for this organization over there. It's, again, that outside thinking of the box.
I think that's a great idea too, because rather than having the restaurant, make a contribution of food, if those of us who are continuing business can sponsor, so we're paying for the food, and then the food is being gifted to the families and the kids that are at the WAS, the various YMCA's in the region. I think that's a great idea. The city can certainly work on participating in that. Chamber, maybe we can get that message out to other businesses about supporting.
I have thought on that, nonprofit's probably about to blow up. We have some tremendous, we have the Community Foundation, we have the Henson Foundation, we have the Arthur W. Foundation, the Donnie Williams Foundation, the PRMC Foundation. Could some of those foundations be approached or discussed that, they have very, as they should, tightly guarded ways in which they hand out grants, but perhaps during this time, could they, if you will, think about changing their rules a little bit, that they could peel off $1,000 grants to exactly what you're talking about, Rob, to restaurants, et cetera, it's just a thought. I don't have that answer here.
Can I suggest that one of our follow-up tasks might is perhaps a
nonprofits,
philanthropic convening to talk about that very issue. Allow them the space to sit in a room together and figure it out. I think it's a great idea.
The feel of that, Jake, I think more and more opportunities for community, to help communities is going to arise as this continues to develop. We need to continue to think out of the box and have venues like this, and it's just going to continue. But I think, bringing the community together to help the community will, those opportunities are going to be pretty plentiful here in the next several weeks and months.
Okay. Agreed.
Way more technical, this is an unemployment insurance question from an employer. They're trying to figure out literally how unemployment insurance actually works and also how it will impact their future rates. And they're trying to figure out whether the employee might be better to be laid off. Some states are forgiving wages paid during the crisis, but Maryland is apparently not one of them. Any concern for funds running out in the state relative to unemployment insurance? This question is.
Like the governor's task force is already working on that. They're working on not only broadening the eligibility monitoring compensation, and also expediting the payment. Because again, I keep coming back to our focus, our government focus here at Ford has been containing the virus. And we've taken, a lot of measures to contain the virus. I think we also have to go down the rail of government expediting relief for those negatively impacted in the economy, because what's critical, most restaurants aren't gonna have 2 to 3 months of, excess, savings set aside where they can survive this thing with an abnormally low business volume. They need liquidity. They need liquidity more than they need loans. And if we can send that message to both our state and our federal leaders that the government response, the Fed lowered the discount rate, to 0, overnight. Well, what does that do for us? That doesn't do much at all, because it doesn't address the fundamental industries that are being negatively impacted: travel, hospitality, retail. United Airlines cut back their schedule 50% there. So, if we can't inject some liquidity into the marketplace, that injection of liquidity will pay off many, many times over when you measure it against the economic damage that is going to be done. Somehow that message has to be reinforced, with our government leaders.
I think that's a great point, and I also think that, speaking to, that task force, the governor's task force, credit where credit's due. I think the governor has been proactive in this effort, and, anything that hasn't been done in Maryland, I think we could probably add the caveat yet. I anticipate that his team are actively working to add, measures to not only protect public health, but restore the economy as quickly as possible. Chris?
Along those same lines, the question is, do we anticipate a shutdown of any non-essential businesses, like a mandated shutdown of non-essential businesses?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's happening to some extent. Mandated shutdown of non-essential businesses.
Beyond, yeah.
Right, and I think every business is essential if it's here in the community, and there's some that aren't here yet that we'll call those essential too. But I think, you make that person makes a good point that, I don't know that we've seen the last, I don't think any of us knows that we've seen the last of the restrictions on being in public even. And look at what's happened with the 7 counties in the San Francisco Bay Area, a full quarantine, essentially restricting people to their homes. This could get more restrictive before it gets less. Is that fair, Steve?
They're gonna evaluate the growth curve every couple of days, say, do we need to pull another lever?
I think the governor said today in his press conference that the growth was 57%.
From yesterday,
Yeah, 57%.
It's massive.
Until they flatten the curve, they'll keep.
So they haven't flattened the curve out yet.
I'm stumbling every day, and that's why we shut our office. We're trying to adhere to the CDC guidelines, and that is at least 14 days of non-essential travel, habitation of office spaces. So it's important that businesses look at ways to go online to continue to do business.
Mayor, look at Erica Joseph's comment and United Way.
Erica Joseph, Community Foundation of the Eastern Shore and United Way, the Lower Eastern Shore, both commented that they would be happy to convene. This does affect nonprofits, resource providers, and small and medium businesses. Excellent.
Henson says the same.
Henson said the same, wonderful. Also, Laura from the East Side Chamber of Commerce noting that there are businesses offering takeout on that side of town. Tall Tales Brewery, Four Seasons Pizza, and Boxcar 40, which is good outside of the urban core. What else are we getting?
Okay. Yeah, it's vpshoes.com.
vpshoes.com. That's where you go online. Pre-order all the shoes you'll need for the next.
This is a question from a manufacturer in town who has a lot of older employees. Are there any best practices that are out there relative to, look at two large employers right here too. They know about the resources, but they're looking for some best practices relative to health practices for older employees during this crisis. That's all.
CDC website, there's
Okay,
great advice on that.
great, thank you.
Chris, Wes? No, okay. Then the last question that I wanted to pose before we move into follow-up is, and I think we've touched on this a great deal, especially talking about connectivity, talking about shifting business online, even local business interactions. What else can we do to be more resilient than the next community? My point in asking this is this. Every community in America is going to be affected. We're not unique in that sense. But I know that we can either stand here and take the punches, or we can take the fight to the end. In other words, we can be proactive. We can decide that we are going to be the community that rises out of this faster, the community that supports itself through it, the community that survives and is stronger. And so I'd suggest that we get about that business today. So thoughts on things that we can do that, the next difficult thing we go through, we ride through it as experienced practitioners when compared to our neighbors. And I said Waterloo, Iowa earlier, to the people of Waterloo, I apologize. Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, we'll keep picking W cities. But, I think my point is that we got to worry about Salisbury, and we got to worry about Wacomico County and our community. So let's do everything we can to be stronger. Mike, did I see that you had something to add?
An email from Chris Eccleston earlier at that point. This is what he said to his employees today. He challenges all the DDD employees to be buffaloes. Buffaloes, when faced with an impending storm, will change direction, put their heads down, and go directly into the storm. They instinctively know it is the shortest path through the storm. So Chris has told his employees to charge the storm, and sort of what you're talking about here.
Let's be buffaloes.
Let's be buffaloes, right? Yeah, let's be
I
buffaloes.
mean, we're along the same lines. I mean, we're trying to shift the focus from problems to trying to create solutions. How can we, I challenge everybody on this call and everybody in this room, look at yourself and your company. How can you help? How can you make a difference? How can you step up and help the community wherever they do? Constantly taking action. That's the key to everything. The action steps is the next process. What are we going to do tomorrow? What are we going to do this afternoon to, this problem forward? And the biggest thing that I tell everyone in our firm is don't slow down. You've got to consistently keep moving forward. Don't take this as a lax, lay back and do nothing. Everybody's got to continue to move forward. We'll have to work together and learn from this and grow from this adversity. That's kind of my focus.
I think it's a great point. We can each walk out of here and our dinner for each of us will be from a local restaurant. Joel and Rob, they're right across the street, I'm just saying. We're right here. So I think that's the first thing that I personally know I can do. It's a small thing, but I'm hungry and I gotta eat. So I'd suggest that's one way we can take that advice. Second, one thing I see is that communication is information is more accessible than ever, and thus there are more places to get information. But where do we turn in a crisis? In this moment, one of the things I see is we're trying to gather information, for example, and get it out to people. And we know it'll just get lost in a sea of other communiques. So, ensuring as we move through this that we have good mechanisms, central places that people just know to trust to go to at a time like this. And maybe it's multiple, but I'm just thinking out loud that might be one of the things that as we go through this cycle, we want to be prepared for next time, that everybody in the community knows that I go to such and such a place, and that's where I get the information I can trust. So just thinking that that might be one of the things we want to do as we navigate this process. Any other thoughts on? Yes.
If I could, one thing we have to kind of be prepared for that could be an opportunity for folks who's obviously affected from a business perspective. We do have to realistically prepare for a surge. That's obviously we're hoping for the best, but we're preparing for the worst. We are hiring. So we had a normal orientation session yesterday. If you have folks who perhaps there's an opportunity for per diem like work, areas that people who have environmental, so the hotels, people who clean rooms, if there's no clean rooms to clean, we have to prepare for the fact that there's estimates that 20–30% of our staff will eventually be sick if there's a surge. So we have to be thinking about how might we backfill those folks. For clinical folks in leadership, well, it's a good thing they're still clinical because they go right back into staff. But for folks like registration, environmental, food services, there's opportunities out there. Even if it's like per diem for right now to get some hours until things pick back up. We won't cannibalize all of your staff, but at the same time, it's a good opportunity. There's no reason not to come on board, get some hours, and that way, if there is a surge, if there is a need for surge, it's a whole other level from a community involvement perspective because it is all hands on deck in that situation. So think about that, and I'm happy to give the mayor and Mike. Obviously it's on the website, and we can post those positions are posted. So we're hiring.
We'll share those too, through all of our outlets. I'm sure we can share those opportunities. Again, it's a bright spot for unfortunate reasons. But it's a bright spot. There's opportunity for folks right now. Okay, here's what I'd like to do. How do we plan to follow up? Number one, I want to suggest this. I don't think we should let this be a one-time event. Recurring meeting. Same time, same place.
Yep.
Standing meeting.
Yep.
Same locations online. Same links will work. It's obviously worked from getting people to interact standpoint. So we'll be back next Tuesday at 2 p.m. Now, before I said that out loud, I probably should have looked at the man to my right and said, "Is that okay?" Okay, it's all good. Again,
Make it happen.
Brent, thank you. If you comment in either of these threads, your email address, and both the Facebook and the YouTube, you'll still be able to comment even once the live is closed, correct? It's just like any other thread. You comment your email address, we'll email you notes from this meeting. We'll also make them available on, can I get everybody to agree that we'll make them available on our websites?
Sure.
Okay. So we'll make the notes from this meeting available. We have a lot of tasks, a lot of taskers that have come out of this, things that Laura and her team are going to do, and Dave and Wayne and I, and Bill and Mike, and each of us are going to do. So from the notes, we've got some tasks that we've got to undertake. We'll also share a link to those on social media and on our website. But here's I want to do a couple notes real quick and then one closing thought. Coronavirus.gov, CDC's page has great information. Peninsula.org. I think we want to continue to push people, Steve, right to your website with information. The health department call center, I'll just say it one more time, 410-341-4600 and 211 after hours. The Maryland Commerce site, so businessexpress.maryland.gov/coronavirus. The the SBA, Small Business Administration website. Those are all useful places to go for information. We have also established an email address for people who have thoughts, comments, ways that we can help businesses from this point forward. coronarecovery@salisbury.md. I'll say that one more time. coronarecovery@salisbury.md. It is on the bottom third of the city Facebook page or Facebook feed right now, but we can spread that far and wide. Again, continuing this conversation between these live updates, that's what that email address is for. That'll be monitored constantly. So coronarecovery@salisbury.md. So send your ideas, send your thoughts, what we can do for your industry, your business, how you'd like to help an industry or business, how you'd like to contribute. Again, this is a time not only for ideas, but for those willing to implement them, the doers. Any other closing thoughts or comments that anyone has? Anything that hasn't been shared? Then once again, I want to thank everyone who's been involved, and I want to thank everyone online. And I want to highlight the extent to which this community comes together and rallies when we have a challenge. I don't know what's going on in any other community, but I'm glad to see this team around the table and all of you online. So thank you. Brent, again, thank you to every one of you in the room. Thank you so much. Amber, Chris, Wes, Becca, thank you for all of the support to make this happen. We'll be back, same location, Tuesday, 2 p.m. next week. Thank you.
Thank you.